Hey, good evening, everybody. I said that I would be giving updates regarding my reading of the Operation Encore declassification cache that was released September 3rd, 2021, under Executive Order 14040, uh, which was released under U.S. President Joe Biden. Um, Initially, I said that it was approximately 2,600 pages, and I actually counted the number of documents that have been released since April, and it is actually much more than that. I counted 5,123 pages, which are declassified. And there are three updates that happened in the last month regarding March, April of this year. And what I want to do is basically showcase a reading of this cache of 17 pages. I'm not going to read all 17, but what I found was absolutely remarkable. Once again, so now we are going to have a much bigger Saudi link regarding giving lodging and financial assistance and even logistical assistance to two Al Qaeda operatives, Khalid al-Mihdhar and Nawaf al-Hazmi. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to share the screen and read you so we can read together. And this is from April 4th, 2016. As you can see, this is the New York field office, case ID, Operation Encore, Fahad al-Tameri, Omar Ahmed al-Bayoumi, Muassad al-Jara, and Mahmoud Mohammed Mustafa Ahmed Rassam. You heard that name. He's actually sentenced for his role in the 2000 Millennium bombing plot, as well as Modar Abdullah and others. The synopsis is blank update regarding blank interview on November 12th and 13th of 2015 and associated analysis pursuant to his pending U.S. citizenship application and statements regarding the circumstances of his contact with persons who provided logistic support to 9/11 hijackers Nawaf al-Hazmi and Khalid al-Mihdhar. Now, as you'll know, in the last Operation Encore video I did, this confidential informant basically is the same person giving information to the New York field office. And in this instance, we're going to be talking about leading up to the chance meet between Khalid al-Mihdhar, Nawaf al-Hazmi, and Omar al-Bayoumi, because according to Omar al-Bayoumi, he actually was driven to the Mediterranean Cafe, which is located in Culver City, Los Angeles. And it's a halal restaurant. And basically says that he was eating there with an associate named Cayson bin Don. And in walked in Nawaf al-Hazmi and Khalid al-Mihdhar. So I'm just going to read. And of course, Omar al-Bayoumi actually helped these two Saudis because when he was interviewed after 9/11, he was interviewed by the FBI as well as the 9/11 Commission. And that's the story he told them, that he happened to meet them, give them funding because he felt sorry for them. They're in the country, they don't know much English, and he wanted to help them because that's what he does with visiting Saudis in this country. That's what he told them, and the 9/11 Commission believed it. So I'm going to read parts of the pages from this. I'm not going to read all 17, but what I'm going to read is from this part here. Now, all this information is coming from an FBI informant who was intimately involved with the King Fahd Mosque in Los Angeles, which was headed by Fahad al-Tameri, who's an imam. He was given that position by the Saudi Foreign Minister of Affairs in Washington, D.C., Muassad al-Jara. Fahad al-Tameri had met with Omar al-Bayoumi, who is a Saudi official working at the I forgot the name of the place that he worked at. I think it was called the um, Saudi Arabian Airline. I'm sorry, the Civil Aviation Administration of Saudi Arabia. And the person that gave Omar al-Bayoumi that job, in which he was a 30-year employee, his son had a CD-ROM, his passport, as well as the passports of 9/11 hijackers, Salim al-Hazmi, the brother of Nawaf al-Hazmi, Abdul Aziz al-Amari, and others. Interesting link. So we're going to read right from here. Blank claims, and I'll blow this up a little bit more so you can read it. Blank claims that no one he knew ever discussed 9/11 at KFM, that's King Fahd Mosque, after the attacks are directly contradicted by source reporting. One source stated that after 9/11, long blank, offered the greeting, "Isn't it great that our brothers are fighting?" long blank. A separate source whose reporting provided reliable in the past advised blank was very vocal against Christians, Jews, and enemies of Islam. Blank dated blank. Other reporting stated the Saudi consul general in LA wanted to fire blank for storage and distribution of extremist Muslim literature at the consulate, but Fahad al-Damari and Mohammed al-Mahana used their influence with the Saudi government to keep blank in place in 2004. Now, a little bit of an update here. Fahad al-Damari and Mohammed Mahana actually were hired to become imams at the King Fahd Mosque by Muassad al-Jar. Blank communications analysis of telephone numbers associated with blank show contact with multiple individuals who assisted Nawaf al-Hazmi and Khalid al-Mihdhar. However, during this interview, stated that he did not know who Omar al-Bayoumi was when he met him at the consulate on or about February 1st of 2000, and even had to ask the secretary for Omar al-Bayoumi's name. Now I'm going to just cut down a little bit here. Blank did not recall talking to Omar al-Bayoumi about the Mediterranean gourmet restaurant, also known as the Mediterranean Cafe, but conceded he may have, and added if he were asked about a place to eat, he would have recommended the Mediterranean Grill on Venice Boulevard, which was blank, a personal friend of his named blank. Subsequent investigation reveals blank at the time was an individual named blank, also stated that none of the Saudis at the Saudi consulate would eat at that restaurant, implying it was considered beneath their status. I'm going to fast forward a little bit here because what I'm going to read to you is very interesting. Now, there seems to be another link regarding 9/11 operators and Muslim associates or Saudi consular officials. Now, much like how Omar al-Bayoumi met Khalid al-Mihdhar and Nawaf al-Hazmi at a chance meet at this halal restaurant in the middle of hundreds of restaurants in LA, well, we have another chance meet, this time in Virginia. And this was not known to the public, so this is all being revealed for the first time. And, no pat on my back. No one's reporting on this. And this just goes to show you that there was a much wider network of Saudi officials and al-Qaeda affiliates helping these 9/11 hijackers along their way inside the country initially when they first came in. Now, one of the more difficult to reconcile connections is between blank and the hijacker support network on the East Coast. Now, we know that there are Israeli moving front companies as well as Israeli art student rings that were following these al-Qaeda and 9/11 hijackers all throughout the East and West Coast, specifically in the Northeast. But we really don't know much about Saudi help. Well, here it is. On June 14, 2001, blank number blank received a phone call from landline number 703 blank 4290, registered to an apartment in Falls Church, Virginia at 6095 Bellevue Drive, apartment 101, Falls Church, Virginia. Now, if that sounds familiar, that's where an imam who had met with Fahad al-Damari and Muwasset al-Jar before the arrival of Khalid al-Mihdhar and Nawaf al-Hazmi in Los Angeles, even inside the United States, Anwar al-Awlaki, who had met with Khalid al-Mihdhar and Nawaf al-Hazmi later in Los Angeles, as well as Virginia. This apartment was used by Iyad al-Rababa. Now, this is for the first time we're knowing of this name, and his roommate, Blank, who both provided significant logistic support to Khalid al-Mihdhar and Hani Hanjour and two additional hijackers during their time in Falls Church, Virginia. Al-Rababa told the FBI he met Hani Hanjour and Nawaf al-Hazmi at a 7-Eleven store during a chance meeting. Well, that's what Omar al-Bayoumi told the FBI and the 9/11 Commission regarding his chance meeting with Khalid al-Mihdhar and Nawaf al-Hazmi at the Mediterranean Cafe. In a uniquely similar fashion to the way Omar al-Bayoumi described his chance meeting with al-Hazmi and al-Mihdhar in Los Angeles, Rababa stated he struck up a conversation with Nawaf al-Hazmi and Khalid al-Mihdhar, who informed al-Rababa they needed a place to stay. Al-Rababa stated he found them a place to stay in Virginia. At some point in this process, al-Rababa states Blank, Hanjour, and Hazmi went to Rababa's apartment at 6095 Bellevue Avenue, where they had tea and met Blank. In May 2001, al-Rababa drove 4 of the hijackers north to Connecticut and New Jersey, while Blank remained in the Virginia apartment. Based on the other call activity on June 14, 2001, including calls to Syria, well, that might be a link to Mohammed Haydar Zamar and Marmoon Darkanzali, Syrian residents who also met with members of the Hamburg cell in Germany. I'm not saying that that is a direct link, but who knows? And Rababa's work phone, it is assessed that Blank, who is of Syrian origin, was in the Virginia apartment making calls on that day, including the call to, and as you can see, this is all redacted. Now, what I want to read next is the anomaly that was hidden from us until this declassification regarding how did Khalid al-Mihdhar and Nawaf al-Hazmi get to that restaurant. Now remember, they don't speak English. They never been to the United States. They come into this country not knowing how to read signs, not knowing where specific areas are. And for a long time, I've always wondered, how did Khalid al-Mihdhar and Nawaf al-Hazmi get to that restaurant? Well, for the first time, we're going to find who actually drove them there and who ordered them to go there to meet with Omar al-Bayoumi. Okay. Now, this is communication cable called Communication with Persons Connected to al-Hazmi and al-Mihdhar. Blank was a close associate of Fahad al-Damari, the imam of the King Fahd Mosque. Blank led prayers and assisted with administrative tasks at the King Fahd Mosque. Now, this is the person that was also the confidential human source, CHS, regarding the last video I made. This is the same person. Damari also served as an administrative officer at the Saudi consulate and had an office there. In the interviews in 2015, Blank stated that he and Damari are still in communication. There is significant phone connectivity between Blank and Blank prior to and directly following key events of logistic assistance provided by Blank to Nawaf al-Hazmi and Khalid al-Mihdhar. This pattern of phone connectivity between Blank and Blank is not identifiable prior to the hijackers' arrival in Los Angeles and does not occur between Blank and Blank after the hijackers depart California. So in other words, these two people who were talking on the phone regarding the arrival of two men, this phone activity was at its height when both men were expected to come to the United States and when they left California. That means they didn't talk again afterwards. So, in other words, whoever these two people are coordinating the arrival of Khalid al-Mihdhar and Nawaf al-Hazmi inside the United States. Blank was tasked by Fahd al-Damari to assist Nawaf al-Hazmi and Khalid al-Mihdhar while they were in Los Angeles. Blank described the hijackers as two very significant people. Blank stated he needed to bring al-Hazmi and al-Mihdhar to the Mediterranean Cafe located on Venice Boulevard in Los Angeles. So there it is. Blank. And I think this might be Khalid Ben-Amri. Don't quote me on that. Khalid Ben-Amri is a Tunisian cab driver. He actually picks up Nawaf al-Hazmi and Khalid al-Mihdhar from LAX airport and drove them to the King Fahd Mosque. And he acts as a driver liaison for these two men. I can't specifically say it's him, or is it the confidential human source that was intimately involved with the King Fahd Mosque? I don't know. So it's either one. So now, Blank, so I'll read it again. Blank stated he needed to bring al-Hazmi al-Mihdhar to the Mediterranean restaurant located on Venice Boulevard in Los Angeles. So now we know that now we know that Khalid al-Mihdhar and Nawaf al-Hazmi were actually brought to the restaurant by who? When Blank, why he was taking al-Hazmi and al-Mihdhar to that restaurant, because the food was not very good and the service was poor. Blank stated he just needed to take them there. Blank, that people NFI no further information, that's what that means, would go to that restaurant to have private meetings. Now, where did that order come from? It came from Fahd al-Damari. Now, in the previous video, I stated that when Cayson bin Don drove Omar al-Bayoumi to the King Fahd Mosque early that morning, he met with Fahd al-Damari for an hour. When he came out, Omar al-Bayoumi said, let's go to the restaurant on Venice Boulevard, Mediterranean Cafe, because it's halal there. Meanwhile, in these documents, here you can see for yourself that this restaurant wasn't very good. In fact, the only reason why they went to this restaurant is when they hold important private meetings. Well, here you go. Omar al-Bayoumi is being told to go to this restaurant by Fahd al-Damari and meet with who? Khalid al-Mihdhar and Nawaf al-Hazmi. Exactly what happened with Khalid al-Mihdhar and Nawaf al-Hazmi when someone told them that you'll be driven to that place as well. And this is huge. Because these orders are coming from who? Saudi consular officials. There's your link to two 9/11 hijackers. Where is the media coverage? This is unbelievable. Now, cable headline. Blank meeting with al-Bayoumi prior to meeting al-Hazmi and al-Mihdhar. After meeting Blank at the consulate in late January 2000, Bayoumi, accompanied by Cayson bin Don, drove to Mediterranean Gourmet Restaurant, where they encountered al-Hazmi and al-Mihdhar. Now, that's the story that Omar al-Bayoumi gave. As you can see, that's not the truth. And that's coming from his own associate, Cayson bin Don. This is the same restaurant Blank he needed to deliver al-Hazmi and al-Mihdhar to. Whoever this confidential human source is, or if it's Khalid Ben-Amri. Fucking huge right here. This, my goodness. They're both being driven. Omar al-Bayoumi is being driven by Cayson bin Don to the restaurant. The confidential human source is driving Nawaf al-Hazmi and Khalid al-Mihdhar to the restaurant to meet together. Why did Omar al-Bayoumi lie about that? In interviews, Blank admitted showing al-Hazmi and al-Mihdhar the location of the Mediterranean Gourmet Restaurant, but denied being tasked to do so or being asked by anyone to take care of al-Hazmi al-Mihdhar. Now, he's covering for Fahad al-Tamari. Why? Because this person is fighting for a U.S. visa. And because he's an associate of Fahad al-Tamari, he can't basically throw Fahad al-Tamari under the bus because he won't get his U.S. green card, U.S. visa. Blank stated he assisted Nawaf al-Hazmi and Khalid al-Mihdhar because he is a good Muslim, and helping two new students in town is the Muslim way. Blank stated he assisted Nawaf al-Hazmi and Khalid al-Mihdhar multiple times on multiple occasions, and confirmed that on one occasion, al-Hazmi stayed as a guest at an apartment belonging to blank. Remember what Dieter Snell, a 9/11 Commission senior staffer, said, that for the first 3 weeks, the 9/11 Commission or the FBI had no idea where Khalid al-Mihdhar and Nawaf al-Hazmi were staying while they came to the United States. Well, in other previous documents, they stood at the residence of Fahad al-Tamari, and now here, whoever this person is. But this information was known to the 9/11 Commission. So why did they lie about that? Continue. Reporting that blank stated both al-Hazmi and al-Mihdhar were living at blank apartment on blank, and he had asked his sister to move out and stay with blank other sister for a couple of weeks because he was having guests, al-Hazmi and al-Mihdhar, stay with him. When questioned by investigators regarding this, blank denied it. Why? Maybe because he didn't want to be seen as as someone who provided lodging to two 9/11 hijackers? Is it maybe that he doesn't want Fahad al-Tamari to come under trouble because this person won't get their U.S. visa? Blank was asked directly if he had ever assisted anyone in this same manner and to the same extent that he assisted al-Hazmi al-Mihdhar before or since. He replied that he had not. So in other words, this was a very special occasion that they stay at this person's house, and that this person basically showed these two men where to go at the Mediterranean Cafe, showed them where to go, and that's where they went. Now, if you read the FBI interview of Omar al-Bayoumi, according to al-Bayoumi and Cayson bin Don, his FBI interview is also public. They're called Memorandum for the Records. Both of the men said that when they left the restaurant, they didn't know where Nawaf al-Hazmi and Khalid al-Mihdhar went. Now, that's another great question. Seeing that they don't know how to get there, who picked them up? Obviously, they don't know where they're going. I'm betting it's this guy. In interviews, Blank stated that he twice dropped al-Hazmi and al-Mihdhar off at bus stops without any further assistance, such as purchasing tickets or providing directions. They would know, right? Khalid al-Mihdhar and Nawaf al-Hazmi, they don't know about bus transfers, how much a bus fare. Someone is providing them with logistical support, travel support, financial support. Now, this guy's willing to tell a little bit of truth, but he's hiding up the fact that he provided much more greater assistance. Question is why? The hijackers did not speak or read English and would most likely have needed substantive assistance, I agree, to travel by a city bus immediately after arriving in the U.S. On the first occasion, Blank stated he dropped al-Hazmi and al-Mihdhar at a bus stop so they could travel from Culver City to downtown LA. How would they know how to do that? A second time, Blank stated he dropped them off at a Greyhound bus stop so the hijackers could take a bus from downtown LA to San Diego. How would they know that? Okay, get on the bus. See you later. Somebody was helping these people. And as you can see, it's redacted. In this time period, al-Hazmi and al-Mihdhar were unable to communicate in English and were so unfamiliar with the U.S. that they could not identify street signs while traveling in a private vehicle with a companion guide. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. And this is huge news because now we know exactly how Khalid al-Mihdhar and Nawaf al-Hazmi got to the cafe and met with Omar al-Bayoumi. And that Omar al-Bayoumi lied to federal investigators. And that Fahd al-Tamari also lied to investigators about hardly ever meeting with Omar al-Bayoumi. As you'll know in the previous Encore video, that wasn't exactly the case because there was phone communication between Muassad al-Jarrah, Fahd al-Tamari, and Omar al-Bayoumi, and that came from the confidential human source. So as you can see, slowly, more pieces of the puzzle, and we're going to get a bigger picture. Also, logistical support as well as housing given to other hijackers, such as Hani Hanjour and Nawaf al-Hazmi in Virginia, that was not previously known to the public, showing a wider support network. Why isn't anyone talking about this? Well, I'll tell you why. Because did you know a third building fell? Did you know that the Giants lost to Dallas? Ukraine, Ukraine, Ukraine. As well as the media blackout regarding their protection of their interests with Saudi Arabia. And that just goes to show you that the elected officials that you help to support with your vote don't have the 9/11 victims' families' best interests in mind. So I tell you, why would you have the best interests of theirs in your mind? Okay, that's about it for this video. I just wanted to update you. And yeah, again, I said it was 2,600 pages. It's 5,100 to 5,123 pages. I got a lot of reading to do. And that was just one cache dump. It was very short. It was 17 pages. I got a lot more to go. And you better believe that if I come across information, you will be the first person I come to, because an educated public is a public that can create a real movement where real change can begin.